to go.
All right, we'll call to order at 7 p.m. This is the Wednesday, April 19th, 2017 Finance Committee meeting. On the agenda for tonight, under new business, we have 2 reserve fund transfers, one for veterans benefits, the other for building inspection. We're going to review the annual town meeting warrant articles, go over the FY18 budget, and make a plan for our next meeting, and also what we want to discuss and present at annual town meeting. So first up, we have reserve fund transfer for veterans benefits. This is for the May and June veteran benefits. So there's an increase in the Chapter 115 requirements, which I believe come through the state. So those of you who don't know, veterans benefits is a line item we have in our budget where if there are veterans who are on hard times, they work with our veterans agent, and they can get financial support, as well as Mike Detillion, who's the veterans agent, works with them on any other issues and things that they need help with, such as finding work and other personal items. So we have a memo from Mr. Detillion. It says, due to the shortfall of Chapter 115 veteran benefit funds, I will need to transfer the reserve fund transfer in the amount of $26,000 for May of this year, based on 5-month history that will be sufficient to cover May and June. Bear with me while I take some notes. Any questions as I'm jotting stuff down? All right. If there are no questions or discussion, I will take a motion for approval of the reserve fund transfer.
I make a motion to approve the reserve fund transfer for veterans benefits in the amount of $26,000.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The chair says aye. 3-0. It's unanimous. Excellent. Next, we have reserve fund transfer for building inspection. This is a reserve fund transfer for $42,404.40. The present balance in the budget is $27,568.19. See what we have for information here. So we have, this is in relation to the cleanup that occurred at boarding up and site cleanup over at McNiff Farm. So we have an invoice for quality contracting for $9,600. Second invoice for $6,426. A third invoice for $4,778.40. And another submission for $21,600, estimated cost of the work.
Is that it for McNiff Farm? Are we done with that?
So this is, if I remember correctly from my quick conversation, this is what was incurred before Board of Selectmen took emergency action for the Department of Revenue. So if you look on the sheet that has the revenue for next year, down on the bottom, the appropriation deficits is a credit of $323,000. The rest of the farm cleanup is included in that. So with something on the magnitude that we've seen, DOR does have a trigger similar to overspending on snow budget, where you can spend the money and it just comes out of the next year's tax base.
Yep.
Any questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to approve the reserve fund transfer for the building inspector in the amount of $42,404.40.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further questions?
No, sir.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, chair says aye, nothing, yes. Sorry, I need to grab a pen and pencil.
Want one just to sign, Scott?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. All right, so next on the agenda is town meeting warrant articles. So everyone has a handout with the town meeting warrant articles, so we'll walk through. We'll do the budget afterwards. So since we're finally coming back together as a committee, well at the end, the articles are going to print on Friday. So I didn't want to rush this to you guys and say, all right, let's make our recommendations tonight in order just to get it printed in the warrant. So we'll do a report out at town meeting on, which is I think on the 8th or the 9th.
8th, yep.
And we'll have one more meeting between now and town meeting to actually have that. So we want to give you guys the opportunity to kind of digest the information on the articles and also on the budget. And then if you have any questions in the next week or so, reach out to me and I can try and get some answers. And then once we get back together, we make our recommendations at that point. Okay? So there's actually two town meetings. There's a special town meeting, which is the first page for the warrant. This is to pay prior year bills. So this is Article 1 is in the amount of $2,791.95. This is related to the 111F claim, which is, we were told was coming to the end, but not quite. I think this was the last piece. So there's that. And then we have the annual town meeting, which will begin at around 7:05. If you guys have any questions on any of this as we go through it, please feel free to ask. Town elections, just reading off.
Do you want to go through this and try to vote on it now? If we have any questions, we can hold it and come back for the next one. Would that make it easier for you? Or I thought that's what we did the last time when Mary Ann was here. We did it that way that time.
We can walk through, and if no one has any questions,
objections,
yeah,
it might make it a little bit easier.
Well, I think the big one, the difference between last year is we had a good understanding of the budget last year.
This way we haven't
Whereas
met.
this year, yeah,
Just
this is kind of our
email
first time.
wise and just looking at things. Yeah.
So I've been trying. That's why I was kind of going with the thought process of let's not rush into it.
Sure.
If that's okay with you guys.
I'm fine.
Because I'd hate to put a recommendation on and then get to town meeting or like a week from now and be like, oh.
Yeah, we should have looked a little bit deeper. Okay.
So Article 2, salaries of elected officials. So at the buy board meeting, the conversation came up that, so the bottom four, the treasurer, the town clerk, and the tax collector, and the tree warden, they always get what the COLA for the non-union employees gets. So they were getting 2%. The Board of Selectmen and then the assessors have not had a percentage increase in a while. So the Board of Selectmen opted to increase that by 2%. I did at the buy board meeting say or tell them that it has been a while, so I don't mind. I mean, from a personal perspective, trying to not speak for the committee since it is small money, but I think it's also something that's worth looking at with the Board of Selectmen to, set a cadence, whether it's every other year, every 3 years, where
So essentially, it's a $50 increase, as I'm looking at here for them.
Yeah, about that.
Yep.
Contract funding, so the Town Hall Clerical Union contract they have a memorandum of agreement, so that is to cover the cost, $13,125 in the first year of the budget. Article 4 is the omnibus budget, which we'll go through afterwards. And we always do a presentation at town meeting, so if anyone really wants to take that, feel free.
Happy to be here, I appreciate it.
Chris, feel free. Article 5 is establishing appropriation for a special education reserve fund. So what this is, it will allow the school district to put money aside, very similar to the way we have our stabilization fund, be a fund off to the side that they can use specifically for special education costs, which is something that fluctuates year to year. And in their words, from when they've described it to us over the last few years, they don't really know what their special education budget is until the school year starts. So they set a budget, but then they have a few months before they have what their special education cost is, because it depends on the number of students living in town at that point when the school year begins. And we have the Ayer Regional School District assessment, which I have to. I didn't send that to you guys. It's fascinating reading, really. I just want to make sure you guys have everything you need. The Shelbyville Valley Tech Vocational School Assessment is Article 7. I don't think I have any backup for that. Then we go into enterprise fund articles. So we'll get details at town meeting. This is just to approve the funding for them. So solid waste, ambulance, sewer, and then water. The enterprise funds honestly they're run very well, so usually all the years I've been here, there's never been anything that's raised any significant questions. Article 12, revolving funds article, a new bylaw. So this will establish a new revolving fund bylaw within the town so that we don't have to approve all of the revolving funds at town meeting. So they're listed on page 8. So that would include the fire alarm fund, hazardous materials fund, 4th of July fund, DPW inspection fee fund, and then town hall maintenance fund. Any questions so far? All right, next is, capital budget requests. So I did hand everyone the capital budget funding, the final approval that the town accountant had given to me. Hopefully the numbers still match. So on Article 13, we have, out of the regular fund, we have the street sweeper for the DPW for $220,000. Police, we have the radio infrastructure, which is phase 2 of the project that was approved at fall town meeting for $207,185. Sewer enterprise infiltration and inflow improvements of $243,000. Wastewater treatment plant improvements, $5.25 million. And then ambulance enterprise, replace the cardiac monitor, $32,000. So the top two come out of the general operations, so there'll be a borrow where we'll pay just a monthly principal and interest payment. The other ones are within the enterprise funds themselves, will be funded within that, so that doesn't impact the omnibus budget at all. So then we get into, there's debt exclusions for some of these. So the top page on the handout, there's the West Main Street Bridge replacement. So this is different from the initial because we now have a grant to cover $500,000 of the cost. So the exclusion is $1.23 million.
And that's after the 500 or
That's after the 500, yeah. So the initial cost or the initial approval was $1.73 million. So now with the grant, we're down to $1.23 million. So it's like having a coupon.
Yeah,
On sale.
exactly. Take it.
DPW Operations Center for $900,000. So this is, Mary, do you mind if I ask you a question? Because I don't have any information on this. I haven't had a chance to look at what's on the town website. Is this for a brand new building, or is this just addition to the existing building?
Modular.
Go modular. Sounds so contemporary.
Well, Selectman Hillman was quite familiar with it because he's been working at a couple of projects where they have them, and he said you don't even know
Yeah.
that they are. And he gave them 2 or 3 places to go look. So,
Okay.
because, before they had like 1.9 million for a brand new building.
I do remember those, yeah.
And
So will
we
these
told
be
them
in
to get it under
addition?
$1 million.
Will these be in addition to the building that's there, just on the
Yes.
same property? Okay.
And were they gonna who's gonna be housed in the new buildings? The director and somebody? Are they moving them
Well,
out?
Right now, they're kind of squeezed.
Yeah, they are.
Everybody, he has
Yeah.
an intern working for him, and, we have the town engineer, and there's really there's no place for training or
Mhm.
anything like that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Article 16, Public Works Highway Storage Garage for $750,000. This is another one that's been talked about for years. They want to, currently, they park the front end loader up at the transfer station in the house, or the shed, I guess, which causes an odor inside, and
See
it
that?
just gets nasty in the summertime. So they're looking for a garage that they can put some more of their equipment under to get it out of the weather. And Article 17 is Parks Department Storage Building Maintenance for $600,000. This was partly due to the fact that we're selling off the old fire station, which is currently where a lot of the parks has their equipment. They do have some storage down in Peroni Park itself,
Not
but
much.
it's a kind of a dilapidated building, plus a couple of shipping containers. So this will give them much needed building. All right, so Article 18, any questions on the exclusions? So the exclusions need two types of approval. So it needs a ballot approval and also a town meeting approval. So 2/3 vote at town meeting, which happens in May, and they are on the April 24th election ballot also. So if for some reason they don't pass in April, there's a chance that these may be shelved at town meeting. So capital budget requests, these are capital budgets that we're paying for directly out of stabilization. So go down the list. So fire station HVAC, $29,500. And new phone system for the fire department for $11,000. Flood control engineering for $20,000. So this is engineering for so the fire station always floods in those, once in a century storms that happen every few years. So what they did was they have wetlands behind them. I'm trying to make sure I get this right. They have wetlands behind them, but they bought the plot of land behind that. So they're going to transition the wetlands over to the new plot of land, and that will allow them to alleviate the flooding within their own lot. A few years ago, Chief Pedrazi walked us through it, and it sounded like a great idea. The biggest hurdle was getting the parcel of land in the middle, because as soon as someone wanted it, they jacked the price
Yep.
up. I think we purchased that, I think it was last year. Replace the training room furniture for $16,000. I will say on a side note, as a scout troop leader with Troop 3 that meets at the fire station, this is severely needed.
Much needed.
Planning and development, a railroad fence, materials only. Parks Department, perimeter path survey at Peroni Park. So they want to put a walking path around the perimeter of Peroni Park. And then DPW Highway, Main Street conceptual design for $20,000. And that's part of the master plan to redo Main Street, and then that will also include East Main Street, and I believe they're working on plans for West Main Street.
What was that last one?
The conceptual design for Main
Yeah.
Street for the DPW. That's how I interpret it. What is that?
Well, I don't have it here, and I don't remember.
Article 6, Article 18 on the bottom.
Well, I've got the old thing that
Oh.
they gave me last night,
They gave you that one last?
but yeah, they didn't have
I
the
have.
big one printed up. I said,
I have one for you.
no, but I'm just trying, I didn't bring my capital
Thank you.
stuff with me, but I don't remember conceptual design.
What's listed? 20,000.
Well,
Yeah, it's not much, but.
a conceptual design for Main Street?
Yeah. Because I know Mark has been working for a couple of years on the plan to redo all of the infrastructure on Main Street, East Main Street, and eventually West Main Street. So part of what he wants to do is incorporate the downtown design to utilize that as part of this project. So that basically we would get, it's a little more than lipstick on a pig when we redo the infrastructure. Because the sidewalks need to be redone. He wants to, I know some of the things he's talked about in the past include trash, what kind of trash and recycling barrels to have, what kind of lighting to provide, where to put the crosswalks. And then there's something else I can't,
It could be
I
on
think
mine.
tree and shrub planting, I think, was the other piece.
Well, East Main Street, I know, well, that's all hopefully going to be in that Complete Streets program, but it won't go this year with Mass DOT, so.
Article 19, UDAG replacements. So UDAG is the Urban Development Action Grant, which they use to spend on items within town that are needed. They've used it for the purchase of Depot Square and the Access Building. So this is to replace the cost of what they have put out. The selectmen have a policy where when they spend money out of UDAG, it does get replenished within a scheduled time frame. So UDAG replenishment is $338,426. Street signs, this is what it's going to be replacing. Street signs, $13,590. Additional 111F costs, $22,597. Environmental impact of the old fire station, $4,039. Removal of the fuel tank at the old fire station, $3,200. And then the remaining Depot Square access building costs, $295,000. So the other half was replaced back in the fall town meeting. So this will bring it back up to where it should be. Article 20 is GASB 45 or OPEB funding. So that is the post-employment benefits for retirees. It's a known liability that we have in the town, and we're putting money away into a fund so that as the costs of healthcare go up, we have more retired employees. We can utilize those costs to supplement what's going to be impacting the operating budget. So we do have a committee that does look at this every other year. 2 years ago, they made the recommendation for $300,000 per year to go into savings for that. So this is the second year of $300,000, and then over the summer, we'll get a new actuary report on what the liability is, and the committee will meet again, and they'll discuss what they should do for funding going forward.
Now, Scott,
Yes.
maybe I'm losing it. I could be, I'm elderly. I thought we used to vote the meal tax and stuff into this.
So we don't have to vote it specifically as the meals tax, and I think town council actually came back and said we can't do it specifically for that because it has to be worded as simple raise and appropriate, because the meal tax goes into the revenue funding, if you will. So this is called out as $133,700, which is the estimate for the meals tax,
Okay,
and then $166,300 from free cash specifically.
all right,
For
okay.
that.
Well, when I saw this all from free cash, I thought you said you used to dedicate that out. Okay,
All right.
thank you.
You're welcome. Article 21, first year interest, general fund borrowing, $293,039. That's in relation to all the capital that has been approved, and if it gets approved in the earlier articles. Funding, Article 22 is funding for general code review and update services of the town bylaws. So this is $20,000. This is a company that will come in and look at your current bylaws. They'll go through, they'll adjust them as necessary. So if there are old bylaws that are no longer valid, they'll actually strip them out. They'll make recommendations for new ones, and they really handle a lot of the administrative portion of that. So it's supposed to be, from the town administrator, said it's supposed to be, he's heard good things about the company. They make the process just so much more efficient because they look at every town or every municipality's bylaws, and they have that institutional knowledge around it. Article 23, funding for aquatic weed control for the town ponds. So this is to do weed control. The primary user of this is Flanagan's or Fletcher's ponds, depending on what side of the street you live on. But there's also areas of Sandy Pond that are treated, Plow Shop Pond, I think it's some treatment, and I can never remember the one right by the rotary. The one by the rotary. So this is, we have a contract with a company that has, it's $25,000 per year for the contract.
Did we vote on, wasn't this on last year's, wasn't this in the
La-
fall town meeting or something?
So we did fall
Yeah.
town meeting to cover the treatment for
This-
calendar
Yeah.
2017, so this will be for calendar 2018. Memorial Garden, so the Memorial Garden Committee is, or board, is looking for $15,000 to make improvements to the garden. They do want to add another monument or plaque within the garden. That's right out the window there. Fire equipment grant match, $2,794. So this is the matching share of a grant. Generally, the way the grants work is the state will say, we'll give you X amount of dollars if you put in X amount of dollars. So this is just our portion for the fire equipment grant.
Can I ask you a question about the
Sure.
Memorial Garden?
Yes.
We do budgeting for 1 year, so how can we come up with an article and have it spent by June 2021?
Because it'll appropriate the funds aside, very similar to the way that we do some of the DPW projects. For example, Lisa always talks about how we have projects that are complete, but there's $15,000 left, and we move them around, usually at the fall town meeting.
I have a problem with that article.
Okay.
Well, a lot of people do, because I'll tell you, and I did tell Janice this, when this was established at town meeting, they assured the residents that this would never be funding by town meeting per se. They would do fundraising. This would be private. This committee would take care of that.
So
And
now
it's-
it's become the taxpayers that will.
Exactly. Plus the fact that there's no room for another big granite stone out there. You would destroy the whole garden if you did it. They have names that needed to be corrected from last time. So they need to get those and then look to see if, what names, the 30 new names they have, if they can put it smaller and put it on one of the plaques. And then that's supposed to be it. It's not going on perennial. Like after that, I asked one of the members, and she said that they said after they got everything done, they would sort of stay and maybe just take over maintaining it, planting flowers and taking care of that. So, and they have done no fundraising.
Okay.
So that's fine. And you know,
I was not aware of that.
well, I mean, I'm a big supporter of veterans and everything, but I think it should be done right.
I know town administrator did mention in the buy board that they haven't seen a conceptual drawing, which is one of the big things that they've pushed the committee for, because they want to, you know, before they appropriate any money, they want to see what it's going to look like.
Of course.
And we haven't seen anything yet, so, except for a hand-drawn sketch, which they were told is unacceptable.
So we did the fire equipment on 25. We're in 26.
Article 26 is a stabilization fund, so this will shift as the other articles before it. So basically, we have all of our revenue come in, we allocate through the omnibus budget, our appropriation articles, and then whatever is left over from the revenue goes into stabilization. And we split it between regular stabilization and also capital stabilization. Article 27 is Community Preservation Act. So this takes the funds that are collected on your taxes for the community preservation and allocates them into certain buckets that are required through the state. I think they have 2 or 3 articles. So Article 28, they are looking to give 72,000 of those funds for the perimeter walking path within Peroni Park. And Article 29, they're looking to give $20,000 of that to the dog park. And then Article 30, community preservation funding of the Pleasant Street School generator for $120,000. And then Preservation Fund FY transfer funds of $12,000. So Article 31 is what they allocate funds that they can use as they're operating for the year. And that's an annual event. Any questions on community preservation, how it works or anything?
Just a question on the dog park.
Yes.
So the DPW is plans on establishing a new dog park.
Yes.
Yeah, they've had some meetings on that, some committee meetings. I think there was one last week. It's going to be over on the Pingaree side of Snake Hill Road. Once, if you're coming this way, you take a right onto Snake Hill, go over the tracks, and it's going to be right there on the left side before you start getting into the housing up in Pingaree. It's staked out down there.
Yeah. There's also a drawing on the town website to show where it's going to go.
I established a dog park for my town where I grew up for my Eagle Scout project. So.
Oh,
I'll give Mark your name. Yes, Mary.
Last night they were talking about, it's the Emily Way project that they're going to talk about with CPC, but it's not going to be on annual town meeting? Is that?
I haven't heard of that.
That goes back, that project, it's up off of High Street and up, all in that area, is over
Okay.
4 acres.
Is that the one that's supposed to connect down to Groton Harbor?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
that goes back over 6 years ago when it first came up. But they want to put now 100 housing 40B, or they'll sell it to the town for $225,000.
Okay.
interesting.
So, and I wasn't clear when they were mentioning it last night, towards the end of the meeting. Do we get, is it this far? Obviously, it's not gonna be for annual, but does he intend to
On a special.
take we'll put it for
Yeah.
the fall or what, so if you could just get a little,
I'll see if I can.
if you can. I know thank you.
Back up to Article 32, adoption of the provision of MGL Chapter 90, Section 17C, which allows the Board of Selectmen to establish a speed limit of 25 miles per hour in any thickly settled or business district in the town that is not a state highway. It's interesting.
Yeah, they just came up with that. They redid that last year. They lifted that, so now it's up to the towns to make that determination, where before the state had to fit the criteria.
Okay.
And a lot of things got returned around, the speed limits did. So places that were 25 got moved to 30 under the state law, and some people weren't happy about that, so now we're leaving it up to the town fathers.
Well, the times you think going through downtown, it's like 50 mile an hour speed limit, the way some people go through there.
Well, it's interesting because some people that I deal with think their residential areas are 25, and you look under the thickly settled, and it's a ratio of how far the houses are to combine to each other. And when you tell them it's 30 miles an hour, not 25, they're not happy about it.
They're never happy.
No.
Article 33, solar lease for the landfill site. See if the town will vote to transfer the care, custody, and control of parcel of land located at 100 Garten Harvard Road, also known as the closed town landfill. My home board won't reading everything. For the installation of one or more renewable energy facilities for terms of up to 30 years commencing on the date from which such facilities achieve commercial operation as determined by the Board of Selectmen. So this would just allow them to enter into a lease agreement with the land next to the transfer station. And Article 34 is similar for the DPW wastewater site. Any questions on that? I don't have a lot of information on these.
It doesn't sound like you'd be supposed to ask me.
No, it's all right. Article 35, agreements for payments in lieu of taxes for solar facilities.
Same thing.
See if the town will
So they-
authorize, enter one or more agreements of payments in lieu of taxes. Okay.
So that all goes together, 33, 34, 35, obviously.
Yeah. It says, for more information, please visit the town website. All right, so that's our last article. So we have 35 articles, total 36 if you count the prior year bills on the special town meeting. So we will give our recommendations at our next meeting on all of the financially impacted items, which usually for annual Springtown meeting is usually all of them, or mostly all of them. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself, or the town administrator is always willing to answer questions.
I'll ask Janice at work.
Or you can ask Janice at work. Yeah, so I think everything except for the last one. The speed limit one, no. The lease for the landfill sites, that's borderline because there's no hard dollars attached to it, but it does have a financial impact. And then same thing with 35. There's a potential future impact. So if you have any questions on the article, more articles, let me know. These will be finalized by Friday. They buttoned them up after the board selected them last night, but they go to print on Friday, so we'll have final copies next week. So next, we're going to move on to the budget. It's a fun part of our jobs. All right, so I don't know how in detail you guys want to go into this tonight. if you have any questions as we go through, ask. I can go through each section if you want, or I can kind of go through and try and get the highlights of things that we should
Yeah, I don't
be
think we
cautious
should,
of.
yeah, I don't think we should take it piece by piece. I think, my feeling is just things that we should have on the radar to be cautious of at this point.
Dramatically different
you know,
from years past.
Exactly. If this is the stuff that you sent online to us, I looked it
Yeah,
over.
This
much
has
as
a
I
few
can.
more updates I was able to put in today at work, so I will distribute this to everyone tomorrow. The big thing I want to start with then is on second page, under Planning Board, Department 1175 is a new position for a town planner.
$75,000.
$75,000, so.
That's
there-
100% increase, right?
Yeah, so this would be a newly created position. It is a benefited position. And portion of the funding is coming from building inspection, I believe. I'm trying to find my notes.
You didn't say that last night.
So I usually spend like every other day in this file most years. Because the net impact from what I was told at building inspection, from what I was told, is about 40,000. Hold on, let me make sure I get this right. Building official services comes out. Because the buy board, we were told it should be about a net 55,000 impact. But looking-
That was never brought up last night.
But looking at the building inspection, which is Department 1241, we're not really getting that big of savings. Because building inspection is going up also.
And that,
Let me go to my notes, hold on.
241 building inspections.
So the structural change per the town administrator is a full-time planner, which would be $70,000 to $75,000 annual salary. So we have 75 in the budget. And 15 hours for the administration at the building inspection, which would cover both and assist both positions, so building inspector and the planner.
can you say that again? I'm trying to panic because none of this was brought out last night.
So my notes from the buy board is full-time planner for $70,000 to $75,000 per year,
75, he said.
which 75 is what's in the budget.
Mhm.
And then 15 hours for an administrator at the building inspection, which would assist the town planner.
No 15 hour was mentioned at all,
Okay.
at all.
I'll
Because
get a
you-
better breakdown on the,
Yeah, that was not. The building inspector was, of course, more hours than full-time and all that. That we understood. But as far as the planner, it was never, nothing else was brought up. In fact, you remember when it went out on the budget, it was, the budget order said, no new positions and no increase of hours this year.
yes, we discussed that.
Yeah, and
And I'm on the fence because last year we hired 4 new positions. In the fall, we approved one position to go full-time, and I think there was additional hours for a second position. So, we're growing, individual, employees very quickly.
and my good friend Selectman Livingston brought it out last night too. She said she didn't appreciate the lateness of being made aware of this new position.
So there was a presentation on this last night on the budget. The town administrator said if he invited me to watch that for how the town planner was presented to everyone. But I do have to kind of agree with what Mary said, where the memo went out by this committee and also the Board of Selectmen that there were no new positions. Now, the town administrator does have his reasons for it, and I think some of them are very valid reasons, to be honest. And it's just one of those situations where do you set the precedence of saying no new positions and you put in a position, or do you kind of take care of business as you need to? So that's really the big change for this budget.
I wanted to make it clear too, I said, is this an exempt position? This is not a union position. And he said, no, this would be.
Yeah, it's non-union. So a couple of the other items. So the IT budget is going up quite a bit, but there's a lot of new initiatives in IT. One of those is something called cleargov.com, which is $5,500 a year, then the IT budget for that. And then there's also a piece for backup of social media postings, which is required under open meeting law. So the other piece is under benefits management on the first page, Department 1126. So there's $2,000 for consulting services for non-union employee and $2,500 for collective bargaining consultant. So I think this has to do with the personnel board, which I believe does not have quorum at this time. So there's grumblings as to whether or not to move things away from the personnel board going forward, or which I think was what that dollar amount would be for.
I think that was explained probably the meeting before, and I think you're right on that.
So to bring it in-house, some of the things that came up in the discussion around that are some of the things I went through when I was on the personnel board, where, you're volunteers and you're dealing with people's work lives, and to try to prep appropriately for some of the things that I went through, there were a couple of complaints against employees that we had to sit in executive session for, and I felt bad because I'm trying to, as we're going through things, I'm trying to read the 10, 20 pages worth of legal documentation just so I can catch up, because I didn't have a chance to read it ahead of time. So the path that I think the town administrator wants to go down is to make it more professional than just a person, a bunch of volunteers. Which we love volunteers. We don't want to say anything bad about volunteers. We need
when
more.
The bylaw was voted, I think it was actually 1996.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it at that time, a lot of these positions were part-time, and you didn't have like a human resource or any of that type of thing. So he said he thought the bylaw needed to be maybe changed or certainly looked at.
So the clerical union contract is up, and then there's a couple of non-union employees whose contracts are up. I think the police chief, the fire chief, and a handful of those I can't recall off the top of my head. Stormwater management. So there's $55,000 added to the budget due for culvert replacement, which apparently is something that they're looking at. The infrastructure, they're seeing the need for that more and more, so it's becoming an operating piece. I have further information on that from the DPW superintendent if anyone wants it. Street lighting, we're buying. Have we bought the street lights yet? We bought the street
I
lights.
think so. We haven't, we're certainly in the process of it.
Veterans benefits has a significant increase, $15,000 increase over last year. That's to cover the actual spend rate for this year. And those are the big ones. Ayer Shirley Regional School District, I'll send out their packet to you guys, and then I'll see if I don't think I got anything for Neshoba, but I'll take a look. And the section on the last page down at the bottom isn't fully updated yet. The operating section up top is updated as of the information I had from the buy board last week. I will get the updated budget that was approved at Board of Selectmen last night, flow that through, and then send this off to you guys in electronic version. Any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts? No? Okay.
Nothing from me.
All right,
No,
so
just-
on the, same as the warrant articles, so we'll set our next meeting at the end of this meeting, and if you have any questions,
April 26th, correct?
that's what we're scheduled for, but if you guys want to, there's only 3 of us now, we're hopefully going to get a 4th in the next week, or this week. We'll talk about that later. But I just want to make sure everyone's available on the 26th meeting. So we'll go through our next meeting. On the agenda will only be, unless there's a reserve fund transfer, will be the warrant articles, the budget, making our recommendations, and then we can discuss just what information we want to present to town meeting. Also included in the handouts is the revenue, just to get, so you can see how that comes together, and also the capital, which we discussed briefly before. And since we are coming into this so late in the process, where normally we've been directly involved, I really urge you guys to take a close look at it. And just, that way we can make our recommendation accordingly.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so that takes care of new business. There's nothing on old business, because we were defunct for a while. With going through the mail, some wonderful things in the mail. So you have the Beacon, which is up for grabs, if anyone wants that. So that's a monthly newsletter we get from MMA, Mass Municipal Organization. We got the postcard from Bay State Municipal Accounting Group, which is junk mail. We have the budget packet from Ayer Shirley Regional School District. This is the hard copy that they're required to send. If anyone wants to take a look at that, they're more than welcome to. I have the soft copy version I can send. It's been a while since I got mail, so we have another edition of the Beacon. We have our budgets. So we have reserve fund transfer, which before tonight's meeting was at $142,526. Shutdown and closure procedures for town hall. Budget for the finance committee, we have $324, which will reduce because we're going to get a nameplate for Greg. Our agendas. And I have this is actually my printout. So this is, I'll leave this if you guys want to take a quick look. This is the email that I got back from the town administrator and also the DPW supervisor with just a couple questions I had on the budget when I first looked at it. And that is it. So that's it for mail. Minutes, we don't have any minutes. We can talk about that in a moment. Upcoming business, didn't put anything, but we do have town meeting coming up. Capital planning, committee updates. So we have positions on other committees. Capital planning is one, but they meet too early for most of us who have real jobs. Sorry, I had to get that in there. So that is currently vacant, and you guys are done for the year anyway, until November or September usually.
Well,
guys
and a
start.
lot will depend too if they do put the bylaw change for town meeting and town elections. If they put that on the fall town meeting
Mhm.
warrant, it would start the whole process earlier
Okay.
because it would, hopefully, if they do that, this would go into effect for FY18.
So for the town meetings, you mean moving it to a Saturday? Or are they looking at changing the date,
There,
the
well,
timing of town meeting?
we did talk about that. In fact, I think all three of the selectmen are up for changing it. Janice asked to have a survey and to people to go online, go onto Facebook, and for
I've heard
anybody
that, yeah.
that, you know, like some of us that don't do that, that we could get an actual piece of paper and fill it out. I know.
You can go to the library, they have computers there.
And that she would like to get that done soon,
Okay.
so we'll see. And you'll just figure out your whole schedule around that. I mean,
Yeah.
Westford's done it for years. I think Harvard is the next early one, I think. I think this was earlier, this is in April. Westford's
Yeah,
not the first.
Shirley just moved theirs to April also, before their town elections.
They moved their town meeting?
I
They
think
did?
They did, yeah.
I don't remember.
They did last year. I don't know if they stuck with it though.
Yeah, they had something odd last year, I think.
Okay.
But,
So other committees, so executive by board is a meeting with the chairman and the vice chair of the finance committee. The board of selectmen just have a representative. They send Selectman Luca. We get together with the town administrator and the town accountant, and generally we meet primarily to talk about the budget. That's the big thing. They do meet during the summer though, when it's off budget, just for informational purposes, what big things are coming down the pipeline, et cetera. It's usually, it's a good place to get some information on, some of the things that are happening and that are going to happen that haven't really been put out in the public yet for mass consumption. So, by board met last week. We primarily discussed the budget. We walked through the warrant articles, which were a little different than the version we have tonight, now that they're finalized. We walked through the budget. Big discussion point was the town planner position. As I said, the town administrator. It's walking that fence of, we told no new positions, but then there's also a need, and I think his needs are, the ones that the town administrator put forth are valid. So I think I'll ask him if he can kind of put everything in a synopsis for our committee so that we can make our decisions accordingly at the next meeting. And also, the other thing I'll offer is if there's any information that you want to get, I can ask either the town administrator, the town accountant, or department head to come meet with us at our next meeting if they're available, if you guys want to have that conversation. All right, so now we get to the Finance Committee Roundtable. So this is our open area where we get to discuss anything we want, Finance Committee related. I'll go first. I met with an individual about 3 weeks ago. The town moderator met with another individual last week, and he's going to make the appointment to the Finance Committee this week. An individual named Pat Diamond, who is involved in a couple other committees here in town. I know he's one he's told me is the train station advocacy committee. So he, great guy, very knowledgeable, seems good head on his shoulders, really, he really wants to help this community out. He's retired, so he is all set to go on community planning, capital planning.
Capital planning, there we
Yes,
go.
capital planning. If no one else wants it, let's throw it out there.
is he gonna go on capital?
He said he's willing to do it and happy to do it,
So is he going to go on your committee and then be the capital?
he'll be our
planner?
appointment. Yes,
Excellent,
yeah.
excellent.
As long as everything pans out, he will be our appointment unless someone else
Excellent.
decides and we choose someone else. There's another individual I am still trying to meet with. He and I our schedules just haven't really synced up for I think it's been 2 months now. So, but he's still interested, so I'm going to try and get together with him in the next couple of weeks and try and get a full committee. So, that being said, I want to get the committee as full as we can before we start assigning our positions. So we have chairman, a vice chairman, and a clerk. The clerk is necessary for minutes. I will put together minutes from tonight's meeting. So we have that. There's a new state law that requires the minutes to be posted. I think it's within like a month. I think written and approved within a month. I'll have to verify that. Whereas before you had some time you could wait, and there were many times that we waited. And then outside of those three positions, we have a position we appoint someone to the capital planning, and then we do also appoint someone to the personnel board. However, I was the last representative on the personnel board, and I, to be honest, did not like what I saw. So therefore, I resigned, and I'll be honest, I am, as the chairman of this committee, I kind of refuse to put someone on that board at this point in time. So that's all I have. I want to stress with you guys, you're allowed to speak during these meetings. Please ask for it. As the chairman, I am simply the facilitator of the meeting, and this works excellent when there's lots of questions and conversation. All right, so I do just want to stress that. And that's all I had for the roundtable.
I'm good.
You're good?
Yep.
Anything you want to add?
Nope, I read over your questions here, and, I certainly answered a few that I had to.
Okay.
So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Cool. Anything, Rick?
Promise that as I get to know the town and the committee better, I will speak more.
It'll take a while.
You won't be able to shut me up, but for now.
Oh, that's fine.
I gotta
Yeah,
make sure I
that's
know what
fine.
I'm talking about first.
Yeah, I was like you when I first started. It's a lot to take in. I will say what really helped me, and I'm just throwing this out there for informational purposes, is when I first started, we always had the newest member do the minutes as the clerk, be the clerk and do the minutes, because you actually rehash everything that went on in the meeting from your notes, and you spend a lot of your meeting taking notes, but then you go through and you rehash, and it's actually even better now that we have video that goes up on the website, on the town website, so you can watch the video also. It helps you kind of organize the thoughts of everything that was said in that meeting, and I think I was clerk for about a year, and just in that 1 year, I got a much better understanding of everything that was going on. And I do want to stress, if you guys have any questions on how any of this works, what anything is, please ask. The worst thing you can do is not ask it and make an uneducated decision. We'll make sure you guys have all the knowledge that you want and need before we make any decisions. All right. Next scheduled meeting is on Wednesday the 26th. Is everyone available for that night?
Yep.
Yes.
So far.
All right. All right, so I will, I need to post on Friday, so if for some reason that you have something come up before Friday, can you let me know?
I'm good so
And-
far.
All right, so then our next meeting would then have to be, if we can't meet on the 26th, would have to be May 3rd, or at least that week at some point, so we can make our recommendations. All right?
Do I get to ask?
Oh, sorry, I will open it up to the floor, Mary.
No, I just wanted to say that for capital planning, some of us are still talking about that elephant in the room that's getting bigger every year, that we don't hear from. You know what elephant I'm talking about?
No, can you elaborate to the committee, please?
The Page Hilltop School,
Yes, okay.
yes.
So I did
Because we
bring that.
heard how bad a condition it was for years, and I go by and then I don't see that we all of a sudden have a brand new school there, and we don't hear anything. And, well, you think of these things when you're doing your budget, because all of a sudden you don't want to hear, oh, we've got to do this, plus the fact that if you're following, all the towns are submitting applications for new schools, and they're being told it'll be 7 to 8 years before we even consider your application. And we don't. Crickets.
I
Okay.
did ask this question. We did have a pseudo joint session. I attended the Board of Selectmen's meeting when the Ayer Shirley Regional School District attended, and I did ask that question specifically. And the answer I got was that they didn't think now was the appropriate time to put together submission to Mass School Building. Though, you usually have a lot that goes into it before then, like a feasibility study to see what kind of building you need, where you can use it, et cetera. There's other, I want to say, thoughts roaming around about that. One is a combined elementary school with Shirley. So you have this
Which
little
they have to
building.
go back and do the vote for the two
Regional
towns
agreement.
because the regional agreement doesn't include that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that would end up probably being in Devon's, somewhere in Devon's. That was the idea that was floated around at that meeting, was buy a lot of land in Devon's, close to both towns, and you build a new school there. So I have raised that because my concern is they want to put the new athletic field in, and if for some reason they decide to build a new elementary school and they look at the land and the size that they need and say, oh, well, you're going to have to build it, half of it's going to go on that brand new athletic facility you just
Yep.
spent $1.5 million on, it just doesn't make any sense. I think the whole campus up on Washington Street should be planned out a little bit better.
And I agree with you, and way back, maybe 10 years ago, before we had regionalization, and we'd get the capital, we'd hear about everything we needed for the school, and all of a sudden, it's like, oh, no. And I said, it's the only school I know that was falling down 10 years ago, and is okay now. And meantime, we've used up all our land. So and I've heard from other parents that don't want a regional
Oh, yeah,
elementary school. So
Yeah.
we're really in a bad predicament there.
Yeah, my kids are older, but I'll be honest, I like having the local elementary school, and it's personal preference. One of the reasons why my wife and I stayed in town was, at the time, everything was all within, half a mile, 3/4 mile of our house when the junior high was up there. But, even with having just the middle school over in Shirley, it was nice having the elementary school.
Exactly.
Right
It was
there.
a little bit further than you. We're in the same
Yeah,
neighborhood.
yeah, you're right down
Yep.
the street, so.
Yep.
And then another thing I can tell you with regards to, and this comes from the water and sewer rate,
Yeah.
if you look at it, and when we had our hearing there, the last selectmen's meeting, the new meters are much more accurate. So we're getting some better readings there, which looked as though, wow, you've got more money coming in. We have a lot of big capital projects. What we're hoping to do, because every year people complain about the sewer rate. We did not raise the water rate this year. We did raise the sewer rate, but we're hoping with Broughton tying in,
Mhm.
that we're going to get a little extra, and then that down agreement with Devon's should be running out, and we want something that's more beneficial to
Yeah.
the town of Ayer. So we're hoping that those two things, because we've got some big projects coming up, and one of them is to do the physical bit down at the wastewater treatment plant. The $5 million upgrade we did a few years ago was all processed, and now we need to look at the building itself and make it more efficient. So
Okay.
that's the two things for me.
All right,
Thank
thank you, Mary. Okay, so next scheduled meeting will be April 26th. Like I said, if anything comes up before Friday, let me know. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:10 p.m.
I don't know, I'm kind of thinking more like 8:11 would be a good time to.
We can
I'm
wait.
just kidding. I move to adjourn meeting at 8:10.
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you for your time.